Hello everyone, I'm Michał and I'm working with Ember for I think over 2 years. And today I want to talk something about the testing in the Ember.js because the testing in Embers is quite well, but it will be much better in the future. Today also I heard fun fact that there are some companies on the market that write test to the test, so it's awesome. Okay, so let's start with the agenda. First, I want to talk something about how the testing looks like in the past in the Ember.js framework. Next, we can focus on the new stuff that arrived in Ember in last 2 months. And then I will give a quick advices how to migrate the old stuff to the new one with the cool syntax. So at the very beginning, we can focus on how the testing looks like in the past. I remember when I started working with Ember, and first I saw some acceptance test. It was terrible. I saw module for model component acceptance, and I have one big confusing things in my head, and I don't know what to do. And okay, that was the past, and it works like that till today, and works on many projects also. Another terrible thing was the and-then helper. I have some snippet there. It works like if we do some asynchronous stuff in the test, and then helper will wait after all the promises from the asynchronous stuff will resolve, and then do some stuff. And it also is terrible to read those kind of specs, because we need to focus on the asynchronous stuff, not on what the test do. And it's really confusing, because when I open the test, I want to see the business logic, see the value that this spec is delivering. But with this helper, it was terrible. Okay, but we have 2018, and we have ECMAScript 2017, which introduced async-await syntax. And it do a lot good stuff for the Ember.js testing, because now we can use the await. So we can write our asynchronous code like normal one, and then just do some assertions. When we open the test, it's quite obvious what is going on. Okay, but in this example, we have another evil, hidden evil. Somebody know where it is? Okay, so there is jQuery, and also there is a jQuery. Oh, like Dave said on his presentation, we want to get rid of the jQuery because it's heavy, old-fashioned, and we don't want to use it anymore. This is exactly that 2 lines that using under the hood the jQuery. But thanks to the Cybernox, we now have super awesome, beautiful, speed, lovely Word without jQuery. Because we can install the Ember native DOM helpers. They have the same API like jQuery helpers, but we need just to import those helpers from the library. And after that, we don't have any jQuery in our test suite. So it's much better now. Okay, but what about this ugly module for acceptance, model, component, etc.? RW created this RFC, which introduced the new testing API. The API is standardized together with Mocha guys, and by now we can easily switch between those two testing frameworks. It uses under the hood just pure qunit modules, like you can see on this first line. And then we need to remember that in this module we need to run the setup test helper or setup rendering test if this test needs to render something in the container. This is working with Ember CLI qunit 4.x and can be used with really old Ember code. But with this RFC, we don't introduce the helper for acceptance test. So with Ember CLI qunit 4, we can just use it for components and unit tests. But after some time, the next RFC arrived that introduced module for I have a bug there. This is setup application test. And it really simplified the API of the testing, because we don't need to think about what I'm testing, what should I need, what under the hood does the module for acceptance or module for component. And we can see now we can test our units with pure qunit. If our function do not use anything from the Ember, we can just create simple qunit test and call our functions without any other dependencies. Another type of test that we have in Ember are container tests. They need to access the container. In Ember container, we have registered all services, controllers, routes. Also components, but this is a bit tricky because components are registered lazy. And with this new API, we need to just import this setup test from Ember qunit. This is only one part that we need from the Ember in this test. Everything else is pure qunit stuff. Like we can see, we create the module for events container, we call the setup test method, and then write our test code. Also, the setup test under the hood give us access to the container. In this line, this owner, we can get the container and then look up on this container our services, routes, controllers, etc. Everything is there. And the readability of the test is now much clearer, and it simplifies a lot of things. Another type of test is rendering test. So basically in the old-fashioned test, it was called like integration, because we need take our component, render it, click something, and assert if the stuff was done right or no. And for this kind of test, we have setup rendering test helper. It's also just one line that we need to add. Then we need also precompile our component. The helper created another context for every test. So like you can see there, where is this? Oh, there. We can just set the initial state of the component in our container and then pass it to the component in this place. Then we can just click something and match the results. And finally, the heaviest one, acceptance test. Now they are named like application test. And there we need to boot the whole application and click like user. It's a really good case for testing user stories or another happy paths or other stuff like that. There we need this setup application test, and also visit, fill in, click test helpers. they are the same that I presented before in the Ember native DOM helpers, but they are now merged in the core Ember. So this package, Ember native DOM helpers, is a great tool for migrating from the old stuff to the new stuff, because this package is available from Ember 3.0, and this package we can use from Ember 2.4 and above. And we can see also there we have our lovely async await syntax, and only this part is not so beautiful by now, this query selector, because it's now so readable. Okay, it's great new API, but how we can use it? Because maybe we have a lot of tests written in old-fashioned way, and now we need to migrate it somehow. So the first step, we need to upgrade our Ember CLI unit. Like I said before, it works from Ember 2.4 and up. But if we want to write acceptance test, we need 4.2.x and above. And it gives us access to the new syntax. Okay, so we have our 1,000 of old-fashioned spec, and what now? We updated our Ember CLI unit. So I think moving everything from the old to the new it can be painful, because there is a lot of changes. So this is the guide how to do it smoothly. I think in the first step we can just move the and-then helper and introduce async await. It is simple, we can just change few lines in every spec and it will still work. Next we can migrate our jQuery. So we kick off the jQuery from the project and use the click, fill in, visit, and other helpers from this package. Of course, we are Ember developers, we are lazy, and we don't want to write a lot of code, so we have code mode. We can just simply run it, and it should cover over 19% of these cases. Then we need just check everything and maybe do small adjustments. Okay, so after these two steps, we are closer to the new syntax, but we need to migrate this module for components, acceptance, etc. to the setup test helpers. Also, we are lazy, we have code mode for it, just run it, and everything should be updated to the new version. Okay, and the last step, we need to migrate our Ember native DOM helpers. They were only used for the migration part, and now it is in Ember, so we can migrate it to the Ember and remove unnecessary dependency. Also, we have code mode, just run this code and everything should be migrated. So even if we have thousands of tests, I think if we spend some time, we can easily go to the newest version. Okay, this is the new testing API. It's pretty nice, it's clear, it's fast, but we have also other helpful stuff in the Ember that makes the test site more readable, easier to write. And so the first one is loading state. Sometimes in our application we have some behavior that looks like we click something, some spinner will run, and after that something appear. Writing it in old fashion can be really difficult, because we need to pull the DOM elements every some milliseconds and check if something will render or no. Now we have wait for helper. Basically it will take our DOM and wait after some time. Default timeout is 2 seconds, and wait for some element, like we can see for the loading spinner there. In this kind of test, we need to catch the promise that cause the loading state, and then we need, after this, await this, because we need to run our assertions in specific time, because the whole action takes some time, and we need check the spinner in the right time, and then the result of the loading after some time. So this is one cool thing that we can use in our application. Another is, in the old fashion, we have something like registerAsyncHelper. It also, like jQuery, were root of evils, because people do a lot of magic stuff there. Now every helper that we want to write needs to be just pure async function. It's easy to test, and we can create something, some helpers that help our UI, like creating accounts, filling some kind of forms, or some generic stuff. Another cool stuff are test selectors, because if we write the acceptance test, sometimes we test the implementation, not the business logic. Because if we have something like the H1 title, and maybe some designer think, okay, it's too big, let's use H2. The business logic still will be the same, but in our test we are querying the H1. So the business logic will still be okay, but the test will fail, so it will be false positive. And for this, we have something called test selectors. And this is the way how the test looks like using this. Of course, you can see we need to add some data attribute to our DOM elements. And somebody can say, okay, we are writing implementation for our test. Okay, this is the sort of, but we have package, Ember test selectors, and it will analyze the whole elements for the test site and remove these data attributes from the DOM. So the client application will be clean. Our test will be working even if we change some DOM stuff, but the business logic still can be okay. This is, I was not a big fan of this solution, but after some testing, it is quite good and simplify a lot of things. And even if new person come to the projects, he can easily read these assertions and know what the behavior is expected or stuff like that. Okay, but this query selector is still not so readable, because in this query selector or text content, this is a lot of stuff. And for this, we have something called qunit-dom. This is a really fresh one. I think it was created 2 months ago. And there are a lot of issues. If you want to contribute, it is really easy, and the Tobias is really friendly. If you want, feel free to contribute. And like you can see, now this is really readable. We just want to check if this element has text. There are also a lot of other assertions in this library. There are a few only, but in official documentation is a set, I think, 20 or even more assertions that can help our test be readable and maintainable. Okay, so there are sources that I used to create this presentation. And thank you, and keep testing your code. Any questions?